Welcome on into the Wolverine Recruiting Show. Clayton Safey here with EJ Holland and Tim Verghese. Join us at thewolverine.com. $1 gets you an entire year of our premium content. So inside Michigan football recruiting content, all of that over at thewolverine.com. Join us on our message board there. We're going to break down the top recruiting storylines of the week. And EJ, let's start with a big one. Michigan. For as much as everybody wanted Damani Jackson, right, five-star corner, who has eliminated Michigan, but the Wolverines are still doing really well when it comes to defensive back recruiting in the class of 2022. Four-star safety from De La Salle in California joins the fold for Michigan there, which is kind of capping off, and I know there's some more that we'll talk about here, but for now, capping off what is a really good defensive back haul. Your thoughts on this commitment?
Yeah, Zeke Berry went ahead and made the decision on Friday. I actually flew out to San Francisco and was there for the commitment and to watch him live. First of all, this was a great recruiting job by Michigan. Berry kind of flew under the radar in the rankings a little bit. I actually was in the Bay Area in September and came back and said, look, guys, this guy's really, really good. There's a reason Michigan offered. They should really push to flip him from Arizona. Of course, he decommitted from Arizona, and then Oregon made a run and kind of took the lead in his recruitment, but Michigan always worked really, really hard behind the scenes. Ron Bellamy, Michigan safeties coach, kind of led the way there and was able to get him on campus for the game. Even before the game, about a week before the game, I think Michigan started building more and more momentum. And at the game, I think he just really enjoyed his time on campus. Barry mentioned Michigan's academics. He goes to De La Salle, which on top of being a national football powerhouse is also a really good academic school. And he mentioned the strength and conditioning program at Michigan and how it was unmatched. He said it was completely different from strength and conditioning programs in the Pac-12. He got to meet with Ben Herbert, who, also kind of talked to him about how he would develop his body, and that pitch really impressed him. And then just the game day atmosphere, the job Michigan has done on the field to turn things around. All of that really impressed Barry and got him in the fold. And I think as far as his game, Michigan's getting a terrific player. Like I said, I've always been high on Barry. He's a kid that can play anywhere in the secondary. Michigan's recruiting him kind of as a safety nickel to play the Dax Hill role. But I feel like he can play corner, he can play nickel, he can play safety. He can do whatever you want him to do. He's about 6 foot, 195 pounds. He's built really well in both his upper and lower halves. And he's a playmaker. When I went out and saw him on Friday, he had a couple of big plays on defense. He caught a touchdown. He threw a touchdown. So he's a guy that's a playmaker all over the field, a ball hawk in the secondary. And I really do think, other than Will Johnson, there's no other recruit in the class that I would rank ahead of Zeke Berry. I think he's that great of a land for Michigan. So the Wolverines should be very excited about his addition, bolstering a secondary class that already features five-star commit Will Johnson, on 300 commit Cody Jones, and a couple of highly touted guys as well, and Miles Pollard and Damani Dent.
And man, if he would have picked Oregon on Friday, he wouldn't have a head coach there. Just a couple days later, Mario Cristobal goes to Miami. As the coaches, the shakeups just continue around college football, unprecedented. Kind of the entire movement across the whole landscape. Let's talk about something kind of similar to that. Courtney Morgan goes from Michigan after just one season, less than 12 months at the University of Michigan as a director of player personnel, is leaving for the same job over at Washington. This is a West Coast guy. We've talked about so much about the relationships he has on the West Coast, coming from working at UCLA and Fresno State. Worked with Kalen DeBoer, new head coach there of Washington, at Fresno State. And obviously that relationship kind of drew him back to work for that staff now with the Huskies and Giles Jackson over there. So, EJ, your thoughts on this. I think it was kind of a surprise because there were some rumblings that he was maybe going to take an on-field role, which, hey, you don't blame the guy for leaving for a role like that when all these guys are trying to work their way up the ranks. But a little bit of a surprise, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it would have made a lot more sense if he had left for an on-field role. Now, reports are that it is going to be an off-the-field role. So, I mean, talk about a lateral move. I mean, even less than a lateral move. Washington's a lesser program than Michigan is, obviously. So, I mean, it's just kind of strange. I know to kind of give some background on it, Courtney Morgan did a really, really good job. He's never stayed anywhere for very long. He was at UCLA and San Jose State and Fresno State all within, a year or two or even less. So he's kind of hopped around pretty frequently. But he was really, really good at his job. I mean, he was definitely a relationship builder. I mean, especially out West, guys out West loved him. He had so many connections with high school coaches, with 7-on-7 coaches, with trainers, with key figures in the area. The kids loved him. The parents loved him. And you saw a big, West Coast presence this year. You got 4 guys in California in the class, only 2 from the state of Michigan. So he was also involved with Colston Loveland from Idaho. He was a big reason Michigan was up there for 5-star offensive tackle Josh Connerly. So, it definitely hurts Michigan as it continues to recruit out West, especially given the fact that Morgan is now recruiting against Michigan at Washington. Oregon's going to have whoever, the new coach is, so they'll be able to sell new program life. And then Lincoln Riley getting hired at USC kind of hurts Michigan down in Southern California. So I think recruiting out West just became a lot tougher, but also Courtney was kind of expanding nationally. And, he was really involved with Joel Starlings, who committed out of the DMV, as well as some other prospects around that area and down south. So I think he was just starting to find his footing as not just a West Coast guy, but as a guy that could help Michigan recruit nationally. Now he's out of the picture, and, that kind of sucks. But, I also felt like, just from some of the things I was able to gather, there wasn't a ton of chemistry between Morgan and maybe some of the other staff members in terms of evaluations and guys they liked and didn't like. And I think, with Harbaugh and the changes he made this offseason, a big reason Michigan has been able to take a step forward is the culture change. Guys getting along, enjoying not only playing with each other as far as the players, but the coaching staff really getting along and meshing well together. And something you and I noticed, Clay, this summer when we went on our satellite camp tour is how well the coaches were really getting along. Like I wrote all the time, like Bellamy and Klink are always together, just joking around, having fun. Same with McDonald and Hilo, and Nua is just a guy that everybody loves. And we were talking so much about how this staff just kind of had a sense of community, even though they were all new. And maybe that wasn't necessarily there with Courtney, despite him being an ex-Wolverine. So despite all of Courtney's ties out West, despite his potential as a national recruiter, I think Harbaugh has shown that the more important thing is building a foundation and building a culture. So, Courtney's a hit. There's no other way to put it. But at the same time, I think Harbaugh has shown that he knows what he's doing in this rebuild.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right about that chemistry. And when you even talking to Mike McDonald, Josh Gaddis throughout the season at press conferences, I mean, there's not a press conference from either one of those guys that goes by without them mentioning the other one, the other side of the ball, how much they appreciate the complimentary football, how much they actually work together, even throughout the week on some game planning, things you didn't hear in years past. So, staff chemistry, I think, has been something that's big, and Jim Harbaugh has harped on that throughout the season, obviously stressing that this year and, probably going forward based on how much success they've had this year with the way they've kind of built this program back up. Tim, let's finish with and by the way, for people, we did have an update from our Chris Ballas on, a possible replacement there. So head to the Wolverine.com for that. A little bit of a teaser there. But Keon Saab, Tim, decommits from Clemson, the 4-star defensive back who was on campus for the Ohio State game. Obviously had a little bit of interest there, but Brent Venables, as the defensive coordinator, leaving there to take the head coaching job at Oklahoma was probably that last straw that got him to decommit. Now Michigan's sitting in a nice spot here going into signing day.
Yeah. So obviously, Michigan hosted Saab for a very low key visit for the Ohio State game while he was still committed to Clemson. Once again, it technically was against Clemson's policy. Commits are not allowed to visit other schools. And he violated that, but that shows his interest. And it shows his interest in Michigan, and the fact that Clemson did not drop him shows the level of talent that he is. That Clemson does want to push and make sure that they keep him in the class. Clemson viewed him as a Isaiah Simmons type prospect. He's a 6'3", a little around that size safety. Has a chance to be a very versatile piece. Potentially a hybrid linebacker. And so Clemson was really high on him, and he was a guy Clemson really wanted to keep in their class. They've done a really good job at IMG Academy. They hold 2 other commits from IMG Academy, so they wanted to make sure Sab was part of that class. But obviously with Venables leaving, it was kind of the final straw, and Michigan's always been there from in the background, really trying to push, really trying to chip away, and get him to reopen things. Venables was just the straw that broke the camel's back, and so now he's out. He's kind of looking around. He's starting to kind of evaluate all his options. Me and EJ both have predictions in for, if we could make public predictions, we'd have predictions in for Michigan, because we still feel Michigan's done a really good job. But he's going to evaluate kind of his options. He's a Northeast kid, so Penn State could potentially be a school that could be involved there. Other schools could be involved there, but as of right now, we truly believe Michigan's done a really good job, and it's kind of Michigan's recruitment a win at this point. So with the week away from signing day, we're not kind of sure when a timeline's coming. Sure when he's deciding. It's sounding more and more like he's going to decide on signing day. So a little signing day drama for Michigan fans, considering the rest of the class should be pretty decided by Wednesday.
Yeah, signing day 1 week out. EJ, how are you feeling? We were talking the other day on our just staff meeting about how much more exciting last year was with going out to see Donovan Edwards' decision out in the snow. But, I guess level of excitement for signing day based on what's coming up here for Michigan.
Yeah, I think over the last 24, 48 hours, it's definitely gotten more exciting. I mean, we knew Keon Saab was going to be a potential possibility, but now that it looks like he's waiting to announce on signing day, it gives us something to look forward to as far as an actual announcement on signing day. But you still also have a few other storylines. Deion Walker, mammoth 300-pound defensive lineman from Cass Tech, it looks like he is going to be on campus this week at Michigan for a midweek visit before he heads to Kentucky for an official visit over the weekend. So you still have that battle going on, and now Michigan has some new names getting on campus this weekend. Darius Clemens, top 100 wide receiver nationally, is making his way to campus this weekend. Virginia Tech quarterback commit Alex Orji is making his way to campus as a potential second quarterback take. And then you have some developments with Michigan and Oklahoma commit Derek Moore, who's a on 300 defensive end. A little bit of an interesting situation with Biff Puggy on staff. It's a weird rule with the NCAA when you hire a high school coach for an off the field role. So we're still trying to get details on that. So it looks like there's going to be a decent amount of drama come signing day. So we're keeping tabs over at the Wolverine. We need to make sure all of the commits are still on board with Courtney Morgan bolting to Washington. We're keeping a close eye on 300 edge rusher commit Kevontae Henry. Cody Jones has made several visits to Tennessee this fall, so we're keeping a close eye on him. So we'll have plenty of updates over at thewolverine.com, where you can subscribe for $1 for 1 year.
So just when I say there's not as much going on, that was quite a bit of a list there. So obviously still a lot coming up here for Michigan football recruiting. We'll do a signing day preview next week for signing day, and then we will do EJ and Tim will be hopping on a live show as well to recap that at night. So plenty of content coming here. So make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel in addition to signing up at thewolverine.com.